Good afternoon, everybody. This is our second installment of West End Zone podcast. It is a working title. We're not sure yet how this is going to go. This is still our beta testing phase where, we're just trying to get the set sort of created and work out all the kinks, get some pretty good guests. For the second week in a row, we're going to have the machine is going to be joining us. The machine is probably the person most responsible for my football love, and sort of the attention to detail that football requires. The machine is my dad, and he's got a great perspective. I've been watching the games with him every single year since I was a kid. Uh, he was coaching me from the sidelines when I was in high school and in football and in college, and we stayed talking about football, about everything, about personnel, talking about coaching and culture, and all the different topics that go into football. Obviously, football is a very deep subject, and those of us who care deeply about the Canes understand that it goes deep, and there's a lot of different topics, and the machine wants to be wants to share with us his thoughts on the state of the program. So please help me welcome the machine.
Hey, how are you? Thanks for West Enzo having me on the show. Now my second time here. It's really a pleasure to hang out with you guys and talk Canes football. Obviously exciting last game, and looking forward to this team really, doing well down the stretch and taking it down to the next level.
Yeah, it's been a long time. We've been through many head coaching cycles, and we've seen the cycles kind of all run its course. This past week, and obviously it's Thursday. I don't want to harp too much on last week, but that kind of gutsy win against a program that's really just beat us up. Physically just dominated us for a number of years, and just to see us fight and claw and win in the way that we won, which involves a true freshman quarterback, and it involved over 200 yards rushing. It involved holding them to 33 yards or 32, whatever it was, on the ground, and it involved a fourth quarter and overtime where we just ran them over. I've never seen that in the last probably 15 years, and so I like to think that there's a to use a cliche word these days. I like to think that the culture is starting to change. What do you think?
Look, after that second half last week of where the offensive line basically just started to maul down a true top five college football defense, ranked really high. I mean, set up to win national championships, where our front five, along with the extra linemen coming in, were just mauling Clemson. I mean, the only time that they really stopped us on any sort of running game was when they brought the safety up, and that safety, went up a gap and read the run correctly and stopped it. Otherwise, we were getting 4 and 5 yards a pop on running plays in the second half. We were dominating that 9 minute and 1 second drive. I don't think I've ever seen anything like it in my life, where you have a freshman quarterback leading a team down the field, and executing in 9 minutes. That was a work of art.
Yeah, and you had mentioned previously off air that you had kind of for work you obviously travel a lot, and you had mentioned that you had an exchange with someone at the airport. Could you tell us some more about that?
Yeah, that was exciting. The next day after the Clemson game, I had to go to Chicago, and I went to the airport early, and sure enough, Clemson fans everywhere, fans, a lot of alum going back to the Northeast, the Midwest. I was able to talk to a couple, specifically one Clemson fan that obviously his take was that now Clemson is, used to be the cornerstone of the ACC, and is no longer. I think that's good that's good news for because that puts us in a position where we really now can really start to build this program and actually start competing for national championships. I also ran into a couple of fans, one particular on my flight that was flying back to Chicago, and he was really enthusiastic about the team and the future of the team, and obviously was thrilled with the recruiting of Mario and how well he can recruit and bring in players. He wasn't very happy, truthfully, with his coaching with Georgia Tech and what have you. But like every other fan, someone they're just going to find fault in everything. But it was exciting, and and that to get the inside of Clemson and alum.
Yeah, and it's tough to not be critical about Georgia Tech. I think, and, and here we are weeks later still talking about it, right? Um, and things kind of look bleak. Obviously, last week happens and changes the perspective on almost everything. And so good to see that. And what are your thoughts about now moving forward a team like um, Virginia, who last year just completed utter tragedy with what happened on campus, and then just looking at their season was also kind of a disaster, like ours too, and it was one of the teams that we beat, so that kind of that kind of says a lot.
No, I mean this team last year was very, very bad. They were going through major issues internally, obviously with the issue off the team where the person got shot. It was a terrible incident, and hopefully we're just praying for them to get recovered over that. But I can tell you that Virginia could easily be 5-2 right now. Um, they lost to a couple tough games. This is a good team, very disciplined. I saw some of or a good portion of the film against UNC, and I can tell you that they physically beat up UNC. They ran the ball on them. They threw the ball on them. When they had to make big plays, they made the big plays. They were putting pressure on the UNC quarterback constantly. This is a good team, and I got to be honest, when Vegas came out with 15 points, I said, "What?" I said I was thinking more 8 or 9, and I think 15 is a stretch in my opinion. I think Miami's going to win the game. I'm going to tell you right now, early enough, we're just going to go out there and we'll win the game by 10, maybe even 14 points, maybe. But to do the spread at 15, I thought that was aggressive. Virginia is going to come in. They've always been physical with us. They always play us tough.
Yeah.
This is a type of team that doesn't make mistakes. That's going to physically control the clock, try to keep our team off the field. And all I got to say for about is that they better come with their A game and get and really start to go out there and play their game, because Virginia is even though that they had a big win last week and people are saying they're going to have a hangover, I don't
Yeah.
believe in any of that stuff. So just they better be ready.
Yeah, I looking at them, and I've tried to watch some film, and obviously, we all have things going on, and what I was able to watch is a team that is kind of scrappy. Even you're looking at teams, or you look at them last year with the quarterback they had, and watching them play, and they kind of seem like lifeless. And then you see them now, and they're like in games, they're fighting. It seems like maybe they've had enough hardship that it sort of galvanized their group. Maybe they're not the most talented team yet, and maybe Tony Elliott hasn't had the opportunity to bring in as many guys as he's wanted. But I can tell you right now that on defense, they're gonna look a lot like Georgia Tech. I think they're gonna kind of keep that too deep shell, keep everything in front of them. Yes, they're gonna bring pressure and things like that. I think this week they'll probably bring less pressure, and I think it'll be on the offense to win first and second down, um, to the point that Virginia wants to get out of their game plan and start gambling on first and second down. That's when I think we start really making progress offensively. Defensively, looking at their offense, it's a lot like kind of watching old Clemson, where they kind of want to run the ball, and they're gonna take advantage of their kind of little quick quarterback they got. It seems like this guy has the support of the team. It seems like the guys play hard for him. I know that he got injured earlier in the year and was out, and apparently opted to not get surgery. Right? He's a guy that said, "Hey, I want to play this year," and he seems like he's a tough guy, and he's gonna give it everything that he's got.
Well, look, what we got to do is, we don't have to worry about Virginia and what they're going to do. We're not going to, we have to go out there and execute. And I think it starts with Van Dyke looking for Restrepo. I think Restrepo is going to have a huge game. Obviously, he wasn't the main target this past week, but I think come Saturday, it's going to be Van Dyke to Restrepo at least 8 or 9 times. We throw a couple of those bubble screens, and then we start mauling them at the line of scrimmage, control the game. Obviously, our defense is going to show up. The Hard Rock is going to be rocking, and I think it's going to be a positive day for the U. But again, they better show up and bring their A game, because Virginia is going to come in and play football, and if they're looking past them, that could be a problem.
It's I do agree with the sentiment that some fans have been saying that, yeah, they just came off a huge win off of a North Carolina team that, we spoke about it last week. They were kind of in that national title picture just based off of them being unbeaten and the rest of the schedule. I think we all sort of wrote off Virginia as a team that just had no chance in a game against a team like North Carolina. And watching that game, that's the game that I kind of watched the most. And they took it to him, And yeah, I mean, Drake May didn't look that great, and it was probably his worst game of the year. But they came to play, and we're also coming off a big win too, right? Maybe it kind of balances out. I think people also have to realize we got Florida State in 2 weeks, and I don't want to say that on the air because it kind of like jinxes things to a certain extent. But if you go on the message boards, right, go on CanesInsight.com. I mean, I don't see that many threads about UVA, right? So if that's any reflection on the team, it doesn't make me feel good. I don't like to. I don't necessarily believe that what happens on the message board is what's happening on the team. Obviously, that's a silly thing to think. But if that's the case, I think we could be in trouble if we don't show up to play.
Well, the way I look at it is UVA is Georgia Tech. It's the same team. GT had 151 yards going into that last drive to win it. We had almost 500 yards of offense, and we lost that game. We had 3 turnovers or 4 turnovers. I stopped counting. If we go in there and start throwing interceptions and fumbling the ball, and we're going to be in trouble in that game. We have to do what the famous Jimmy Johnson did, which is protect the ball, protect the ball, protect the ball. And we protect the ball, and Van Dyke has a good game. He doesn't force throws, okay? I think that we should win this game by at least 10 or 14 points. Our defense is going to show up to play. Our defense, is that they all year long, except for that UNC game where they were going fast count, they weren't even setting up. They were getting destroyed in the second half. Beyond that second half of UNC, the entire year they've been playing, they've been balling, and I expect them to be ready for this game. I think Guidry, his last game, was a master of stopping the Clemson run. Yeah, they gave up a lot of pass yards, but you got to give up something. They're a great team. So and the tight end that caught a couple of passes in the end zone, made amazing catches.
Yeah.
I mean, one where I think Kobe 23 was on him, the linebacker.
Yeah, Cloyd.
And Chloe, and then basically the ball was thrown perfect. I mean, Chloe had his hands in the air, jumping. He couldn't cover that better. I mean, the only way, the next phase of covering that was with the pass interference.
Right. And that that occurred probably like maybe 10 yards from us. That was right there.
And then the other one in the end zone where he caught the ball, where William had him was all over him.
Yeah,
I mean, he
yeah.
went touched the ball and he made a grab and he was in. A great talent, the tight end. But the point is that if they need to show up and play. I don't think Virginia offensively has the tools to beat us, to beat our offense. I think our defense is going to shut them down. But again, if our offense starts to turn the ball over,
Yeah.
that's going to be a problem.
Yeah. I think it all comes back to that. I mean, that's kind of like the story of the year, right? Where you look at that UNC game, that second half, that third quarter, really, is kind of like the only time of the year that our defense looked sort of human, right? And it's because of turnovers. I think I was thinking about this during the Clemson game where I'm like, hey, the offense has got to do something because even the best defenses, yeah, like the greatest defenses that win championships, maybe they don't break, but a very good defense, even a very good defense, has a point where they break. And I not to go back too far to last season, but I think a lot of our defensive woes, not all of them, but some of them, had to do with just playing defense and just understand, keeping in the back of your mind that hey, our offense does not have our back. They're gonna turn it over. They're gonna go 3-and-out, and going 3-and-out is one thing, but when you start turning it over, things can kind of go off the rails. It builds momentum for the other team. Um, we've seen very clearly what it looks like when we turn the ball over on our own team, and then we've seen it with teams that we played like Clemson, right? Clemson has a top 10 defense. They have tons of talent everywhere, and they've been turning the ball over. They're the last team in the league in fumbles, right? I mean, just think about that, right? So, and they got 3 losses. So, goes to show something as cliche and as simple and as you know elementary as turnovers is going to be the key, right? And it kind of points to like another conversation, right? You mentioned Jimmy Johnson and his emphasis on ball security. Obviously, we all think about the 1986 game, which I'm sure you remember very well.
Cleveland Gary.
And I was probably like a year old at that point, or maybe I wasn't even born yet. I don't even know. But you think about turnovers and coaching, and when turnovers happen, you always want to blame somebody. And sometimes it's not a simple answer. And I don't know. You hear coaches kind of like talk about cliche things like turnover circuit, and yeah, we rep it. We have you know 3 periods a day where we work turnovers and we work ball security, and I make my running backs go to sleep with a ball in their hand, and we work wet ball, we work dry ball, and you hear them talk about all these things, but it's like, where do you assign the blame? And is it like is it you know a team is not in sync? Is there what is it?
Look, last game, the one turnover we had, I kept on replaying it, and Jacoby George should have kept the route that he had. The ball would have been there, perfectly thrown to him,
Yeah.
and he stopped the route and he cut back out. That was not the quarterback's fault. That was Jacoby George. But that goes to show when your backup quarterback that hasn't been throwing to Jacoby George all year long are not on the same page. So that was to me, that was a turnover, yes, but it wasn't like, and it was a spot on the field where it was a 10-yard line. Jacoby made the tackle, and it was like right before halftime.
Kind of like a punt.
It was a punt. Now, obviously, you would have wanted to get a field goal out of that or a touchdown, but we didn't get it. But look, turnovers are huge. I mean, statistically, historically, the team that turns it over loses the game.
Of course.
And I think this weekend coming up against Virginia, we have to protect the ball. Virginia is going to want to strip the ball. Virginia's going to want to come bring us pressure. They're going to want to get an interception. If we protect the ball, we're going to win this game easily. If we don't protect the ball, it could be a game where it's going to be won in the fourth quarter, and that's not what we want. We want to be able to be clearly ahead going into the fourth, and not having to stress over having to win this game at the last second. But look,
Yeah.
I think this team is young. I think this team is growing, and I think that if we if the U can win on Saturday, which I believe they will, and they can go into NC State a week later and do their thing, I think the setup or the game for FSU is huge. Now it's huge really for the sake of recruiting, because if you can say, well, we beat Clemson and we beat Florida State in the same year, okay,
Right.
that's huge. That's huge for recruiting. That's huge. Even though FSU may go on and have their only loss to Miami and go to the ACC championship and go on to the national championship game, whatever, okay. But the point is that if you're able to run the table with your schedule, you can set the table for next year, where you go to Gainesville, and you can really make it a special season. But like you said, let's not get ahead of ourselves. It's one snap, it's one play, it's one quarter, it's a half, it's a full quarter, but we need to be able to really mentally be prepared to play Virginia and understand what they do to win games and how they win games, and be ready for them.
Yeah, and it starts this week, and it is the old football cliche. Got to be 1-0 on the week, and you can only win one game at a time, and all those very simple things. So we've been going about 25 minutes, 26 minutes. You got any more things you want to talk about?
No, I'm basically gonna be wearing. I'm gonna be jacked up Saturday game day. I'm going to head to the gym and then go get washed up and get my car, drive down to the Rock and see the Canes take care of business.
And we'll be hanging out where?
We'll be hanging out in
The West End Zone.
in the West End Zone in the clubhouse.
Yeah, and I think we may have a special guest with us. A special guest named Nico. So we'll see. We'll see.
Well, Nico's undefeated.
He is undefeated. He is undefeated. All right, guys. So just wanted to thank Al the Machine, aka my dad. He's a wealth of knowledge. We have these conversations daily, so I thought it's probably best to put it on air and let some of you guys enjoy it as well. So go Canes, and we'll see you. I'll probably see you guys on the stream maybe after the game, maybe the same night, maybe the next day. So thank you all.